Early in my career, I once read the market correctly and still lost money. Not because price betrayed me, but because I trusted my opinion more than my position size. I was right on direction, wrong on survival. The lesson was humbling. Professionals don't bet big when they're confident. They size small when they're uncertain. Risk is never controlled by forecasts, only by how much you allow the market to take from you. In my earlier years of market study, I placed far too much importance on being correct. I believed that if my reading of price and volume was accurate, profit would naturally follow. This assumption proved costly. The market does not reward opinions, no matter how well reasoned. It rewards discipline. Many traders fail not because they misunderstand the market, but because they underestimate the damage one poorly sized loss can inflict. I recall occasions when my analysis was sound, the trend clear, and the timing respectable, yet the outcome was failure. The cause was never the market itself. It was the size of my commitment. I risked too much on a single idea, believing the logic behind it offered protection. Logic offers no protection once capital is exposed. Only restraint does. The professional operator approaches the market with a different objective. He does not ask how right he can be, he asks how long he can stay in the game. Survival is the true edge. Without it, skill is irrelevant. A trader who preserves capital preserves opportunity, and opportunity is the market's only consistent gift. The public trader seeks confirmation. When price begins to move in his favor, his confidence swells and with it his size. This is precisely backward. Confidence is not a substitute for control. The professional understands that the market can invalidate any position at any moment. Therefore, he structures his risk so that being wrong carries no emotional or financial consequence beyond what was planned. A campaign in the market is never built on a single position. It is built on a series of carefully measured engagements, each one small enough to survive failure and large enough to matter when conditions prove favorable. The professional does not depend on a high percentage of wins. He depends on the mathematical certainty that small losses, kept small, cannot threaten his existence. There is a quiet strength in knowing that no single trade can harm you. That knowledge sharpens judgment. It allows the operator to observe price objectively without fear or urgency. The trader who risks too much loses this clarity. He begins to hope, to justify, to defend. At that moment he is no longer reading the market, he is negotiating with it. Being right is episodic. Survival is continuous. Markets will change character without notice. Trends will fail. Accumulations will break down. Distribution will extend longer than logic permits. The professional remains prepared for all outcomes by limiting exposure in advance. He accepts uncertainty as a constant and designs his risk accordingly. The great irony is this: those who focus on survival often end up more profitable than those obsessed with correctness. By staying in the game, they participate in the few decisive movements that more than compensate for routine losses. Capital preserved becomes capital multiplied. In the end, the market does not ask how intelligent you are. It asks only one question: can you endure? Those who answer yes through disciplined position sizing earn the right to continue, while others, often brilliant in analysis, are quietly removed from the field. One of the most instructive errors a trader can make is to increase his commitment after confidence has arrived. I made this mistake early, and I made it more than once. The setup appeared clean, the structure orderly, and the action of price and volume seemed to confirm my reading. In such moments, confidence feels earned. Yet it is precisely here that danger enters. Confidence is an emotion, and emotion has no rightful place in the calculation of risk. The professional determines his position size before the trade is entered, while the mind is still detached from outcome. At that stage, the market has made no promises. Price has not moved, Profits have not appeared, and hope has not yet attached itself to the position. This is the only moment when risk can be judged honestly. Once a trade begins to move favorably, the public trader feels vindicated. He interprets early progress as proof of correctness and responds by increasing size. This is not discipline, it is reaction. The market has not revealed its hand merely because price has advanced a short distance. Many of the most punishing reversals begin precisely at the point where confidence is highest. In my own experience, the most damaging losses did not come from poor analysis, but from expanding size without expanding information. Nothing new had occurred in the market to justify greater exposure. Only my belief had grown. The market does not recognize belief, and it does not reward enthusiasm. Professionals understand that size is governed by structure, not by feeling. The distance to the protective stop, the character of volatility, and the phase of the market all dictate how much risk can be assumed. If the logical stop is wide, size must be reduced. If conditions are uncertain, size must contract. This is not a compromise, it is obedience to market facts. To decide size after confidence appears is to allow price movement to influence risk judgment. This places the trader in a position of submission, reacting instead of planning. The professional refuses this posture. He plans his risk in advance and accepts the trade only if the risk fits comfortably within his rules. If it does not, the trade is ignored. No matter how attractive it appears, there is a misconception that professionals are bold risk takers. In truth, they are careful ones. Their boldness lies not in the size of their bets, but in their willingness to act repeatedly with controlled exposure. They understand that opportunity is endless, but capital is not. By fixing size before entry, the trader removes the need for improvisation. There is no debate once the trade is on. The risk is known, the damage limited, and the outcome accepted in advance. This mental clarity allows the operator to observe the market without interference. Confidence, when it comes, should be a byproduct of discipline, not a trigger for excess. When size is decided calmly and early, confidence no longer threatens survival. It becomes what it should be, quiet assurance that one trade, whether successful or not, has no power to alter the trader's future. There is a common misunderstanding among the public that professional operators succeed by concealing their entries. This belief is incomplete. The true skill of the large operator lies not merely in hiding positions, but in disguising risk. I learned this distinction through experience, and the lesson was costly. Visibility is not what ruins a campaign, exposure does. In my early observations of market campaigns, I assumed that the professional's advantage came from superior information or privileged timing. Over time, it became clear that the advantage was structural. The operator never commits himself in such size that he must be right. His first objective is not profit, but safety. Profit is allowed to develop only after safety is secured. The public trader announces his urgency through size. He enters aggressively, revealing both his intention and his vulnerability. When price moves against him, he is forced to act, often at the worst possible moment. The professional, by contrast, enters quietly and incrementally. His exposure is measured so that adverse movement causes no distress and demands no immediate decision. Risk, when properly managed, is invisible. The operator scales in while uncertainty remains high and reserves full commitment for moments when the market itself has confirmed his premise. This confirmation is not emotional, it is structural, changes in spread, behavior of volume, and response to supply. Until such evidence appears, size remains restrained. I recall observing campaigns where accumulation occurred over weeks, even months. The public grew restless, interpreting the lack of movement as failure. Meanwhile, the operator was absorbing supply patiently, never exposing himself to harm. His risk was dispersed over time and price, leaving no trace of urgency. This is not secrecy, it is discipline. Professionals understand that risk is most dangerous when it is concentrated. A single large entry invites both emotional attachment and mechanical danger. Stops must be wider, decisions become heavier, and flexibility is lost. By spreading commitment, the operator preserves mobility. He can withdraw, pause, or advance without consequence. Another critical aspect of hidden risk is the refusal to defend a position. The public defends because it is overexposed. The professional never needs to defend because he has never overcommitted. If the market changes character, he steps aside without regret. There is no argument with the tape. The illusion of strength is size. The reality of strength is control. Operators who survive long careers understand that the market is larger, more patient, and more ruthless than any individual. They do not challenge it with force. They cooperate with it through restraint. In time, when the market reveals its hand and conditions align, the operator may expand his position. To the public, this appears sudden and decisive. In truth, it is earned. Risk was managed quietly long before reward became visible. Thus, the professional hides risk by refusing to expose it. His positions may eventually be seen, but by then the market has already done the heavy work. What appears as confidence is merely the absence of danger, carefully arranged in advance. Every trader pays tuition to the market. Losses are the price of admission, and no operator, regardless of experience, escapes them. I learned this early, yet I failed to respect the difference between a loss that teaches and a loss that cripples. The market will forgive small mistakes. It is merciless toward large ones. In my own campaigns, the most painful experiences were not frequent losses, but singular, excessive losses. They arrived when I allowed one position to grow beyond its proper proportion. The reasoning was always similar. The trade was too good, the structure too clear, the risk worth taking. In truth, no opportunity is ever worth risking survival. A properly sized loss performs a valuable function. It sharpens observation, reinforces discipline, and preserves emotional balance. An oversized loss does the opposite. It distorts judgment, invites revenge, and forces the trader to operate from a position of recovery rather than clarity. At that moment, the trader is no longer aligned with the market. He is aligned with his own damage. Professionals accept losses as routine expenses. They are planned, limited, and emotionally neutral. The loss is acknowledged, recorded, and dismissed. There is no need for justification, no desire for immediate repair. Capital remains intact, and with it, the ability to act decisively when the next opportunity appears. The public trader experiences loss as personal failure. This is because the loss is too large. When risk exceeds tolerance, emotion enters. Hope replaces analysis. The trader begins to negotiate with the market, widening stops, delaying exits, or adding to weakness. These actions are not strategic, they are defensive responses to excess exposure. I once allowed a single adverse move to erase weeks of careful work. Nothing in the market had changed significantly. What changed was my capacity to respond intelligently. The loss had exceeded its proper role. It no longer taught, it punished. Oversized losses have another destructive quality: they consume time. Recovering from a large drawdown requires extended effort, increased risk, or both. During this period, the trader is vulnerable. He becomes selective in the wrong way, impatient when patience is required, and aggressive when restraint would serve him better. The market offers no sympathy during recovery. The professional designs his risk so that no loss can interrupt his rhythm. He understands that opportunity appears in clusters, not evenly. To miss one cluster because of prior excess is an avoidable tragedy. Small losses ensure continuous participation. The goal, therefore, is not to avoid losses, but to control their scale. Losses should be forgettable. If a loss lingers in memory, it was too large. The market provides endless instruction, but only to those who remain solvent long enough to receive it. In the final accounting, careers are not ended by being wrong. They are ended by refusing to limit the cost of being wrong. Those who survive learn to pay tuition modestly, and in doing so, earn the privilege of continued study in the greatest classroom ever devised, the market itself. One of the most enduring misconceptions among traders is the belief that position size is a matter of ambition. I once held this belief myself, that conviction, experience, or clarity of analysis entitled me to greater exposure. The market corrected this notion swiftly. Size is not granted by confidence, it is permitted by conditions. The professional operator understands that the market defines acceptable risk at every moment. Volatility, structure, and behavior of price determine how much exposure can be carried safely. When conditions are calm and orderly, the market may allow broader participation. When conditions are erratic, deceptive, or thin, it demands restraint. To ignore this is to invite unnecessary damage. In my early observations, I noticed that markets change character more often than traders change expectations. A method that worked smoothly in one environment failed abruptly in another, not because it was flawed, but because size was not adjusted. The market had narrowed its tolerance, yet the trader maintained the same exposure. The result was loss, confusion, and often abandonment of sound principles. Professionals never impose size upon the market. They test conditions with small commitments and observe the response. If price behaves as anticipated, responding to support, advancing on diminishing supply, or reacting favorably to demand, exposure may be increased. If not, size remains small or is reduced. This process is exploratory, not assertive. The public trader asks, "How much can I make?" The professional asks, "How much must I risk to learn whether I am right?" This distinction governs longevity. Risk is not assumed to extract profit, it is assumed to gather information. The market's response to risk determines whether further participation is justified. There are periods when the market offers clarity, trends persist, reactions are shallow, and effort aligns with result. In such times, the market allows greater size because risk is defined and behavior is consistent. There are other periods, often preceding major changes, when price becomes erratic, volume contradictory, and structure unreliable. In these moments, the market demands humility. Size must shrink, sometimes dramatically. I recall times when reducing size felt like retreat. In truth, it was advancement of a higher order. By preserving capital during uncertain phases, the operator remains prepared for decisive opportunities when conditions improve. Those who insist on maintaining size through all environments exhaust themselves before the true movement begins. The market is a living mechanism, not a static arena. It expands and contracts its tolerance continuously. The professional adapts accordingly. He does not argue with volatility, nor does he force participation during confusion. He listens. Ultimately, the market always has the final vote on exposure. Traders who attempt to override this verdict with confidence or willpower are eventually corrected. Those who accept it quietly endure. Size, then, is not a declaration of strength. It is a response to permission. When the market grants it, the professional accepts. When it withdraws it, he steps aside without complaint. This obedience, not bravado, is what allows a trader to remain present long enough to benefit from the market's rare but generous rewards. The market does not reward boldness for its own sake, nor does it punish caution when caution is justified. It rewards those who understand their proper place within it. Throughout every phase, whether accumulation, advance, distribution, or decline, the professional operator survives not by brilliance alone, but by restraint exercised consistently. Position sizing and risk management are not accessories to skill, they are its foundation. Analysis may reveal opportunity, but discipline determines whether that opportunity can be taken repeatedly. The trader who survives errors remains eligible for success. The trader who overcommits forfeits that privilege, often while believing he is acting decisively. Every mistake discussed here shares a common thread: the refusal to accept uncertainty. Markets are uncertain by nature. To deny this is to invite oversized risk, emotional decisions, and eventual removal from the field. The professional accepts uncertainty and designs his exposure so that being wrong carries no lasting consequence. Success, then, is not found in avoiding losses, predicting perfectly, or trading with confidence alone. It is found in aligning size with conditions, limiting damage in advance, and allowing the market, not ego, to determine participation. Those who master this discipline may not appear impressive in any single moment, but over time they endure. And in the market, endurance is the rarest advantage of all.